Welcome back. It is the PM show, CRN Digital Talk Radio. I'm Jennifer Horn. Also in studio with me, our news director, Eric Joseph, standing by. And on our Newsmaker hotline, Charlie Barrett, who did media relations for 12 years, we decided, right, Charlie, for The Tonight Show?
Just about 12 years, yeah.
With the Johnny Carson's Tonight Show. And, of course, we're celebrating the big momentous day today. It is the 50th anniversary of Johnny Carson taking over The Tonight Show. And before the break, you were talking, Charlie, about sitting with your dad and watching that very first Tonight Show broadcast.
Yes, I remember well. It was my father was a huge Jack Parr fan, and just walked out of the room.
He was over it. That was it.
It was not for him. It was not for him. But they were very different styles, Johnny and Jack Parr. Very, very different. And I sat through the whole first show. I found it kind of really fascinating that this guy who really was basically kind of an unknown in television primetime, particularly late night. Because so limited then, but he was on basically as a game show host for Who Do You Trust? But before that, he was he was in L.A. and Channel 2 and did a show called Carson Cellar. That was even earlier than Who Do You Trust? That was in the early 50s on Channel 2 and KNXT2. So he really, he had quite a range of stuff that he did over his lifetime.
Would you think because of the variety of his talent, is that what got him selected as the host of The Tonight Show, would you imagine?
I think so. I think they wanted a very different kind of host than Jack Parr. And I think that the competition started heating up. Merv Griffin, and I don't know if this is a fact, but I did read this somewhere recently, that the very day Johnny started, October 1st, 62, that very afternoon, Merv Griffin also started the show. Now, I don't know if that's completely accurate, but that's what I've read in a newspaper 2 weeks ago. And so there were some other, people coming along who were going to compete with The Tonight Show. And ultimately, of course, they all fell by the wayside. And Carson, prevailed for, he would have made exactly 30 years to the day if he hadn't left that May. But he certainly, he was the master of timing. He knew when to go and when to pack it in. And things had changed. There was a new network, a new owner. He had come in and bought RCA.
Right.
And they were looking for, the word around was they were looking for a younger host. And when Joan Rivers left as the permanent Monday night guest host, that would have been in 86. Yeah. May of 86, I guess it was. I was very much there and involved in all that, and just trying to put out fires. It was quite a thing. So Jay actually came along, and Gary Shandling, starting in September of 86, as alternating Monday night guest host. Then after a year, NBC decided to let Jay become the permanent Monday night guest host, the spot held by Joan Rivers for a couple of years before she, boogied up to Fox. And that show, unfortunately, just bombed. It did not, Joan's show on Fox just did not last. It, unfortunately, just didn't draw the ratings and the audience. But
do you think it was that people weren't ready for a woman in that role?
I don't know what it was. I think so. I mean, I think she's a very talented woman.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt about it. She's very, very funny, very talented, and I don't know what it was. I don't think that was the reason. I think it's just, from what I saw and what the discussion was, it just wasn't produced properly. They just didn't have the right chemistry that really made it click, and I think that was the downfall of it.
Now, when you were working with Johnny, when you were booking guests for the Johnny Carson version of The Tonight Show, were there guests that he really clicked with that would be return guests all the time, and who were they?
Oh, yeah.
And then conversely, was there anybody that he said, no, we don't want this guy on anymore?
Yeah, there were. And there were people that he couldn't get to, believe it or not.
Really?
We tried to get Cary Grant several times, and his line basically was, I don't do talk shows.
Wow.
And he would never appear. And but yeah, returning guests, Jimmy Stewart, the actor, was on several times. Actually reading a poem about his dog. He used to write these poems about his dog.
Interesting.
He used to read them. And he was one of the favorite guests on our show at the time. And getting into really old Hollywood, Fred Astaire, was on a number of times.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, Michael Landon was pretty much a regular, very popular guest that would come in because of the show. He had a Little House on the Prairie that ran for years and years.
Sure.
So there were a lot of people. That the Gore Vidal was another one that was always welcome.
Who was outlawed?
He had been on a number of times. And so there was a list, short list that was growing all the time of favorite guests. And there were people, too, that were not invited back. I know one, in fact, was Carl Sagan, the famous astronomer Carl Sagan.
Hang on with us for 1 second, Charlie. We'll be back with more. It is the PM Show on CRN Digital Talk Radio.